And this is where I freak out a little bit. Was not expecting my companion to die. Yeah, this is bad because now I have to deal with the Quillipede, which I can't. But luckily there's a beetle bomb right next to it for me to proselytize. But I had literally just given him the Garsling corpse. So I decided to take the Sandals of the Riverwives here to get some extra speed. Oh, by the way, the Snapjaw had that pistol the entire time. I never had any bullets, but yeah, I had no idea what it was. But yeah, he had that pistol the entire time. Just starting to put the pieces together as to what this axe is. I want to get rid of this beetle bomb as fast as possible. Beetle bomb are pretty good offense. They are pretty dangerous, and they're pretty tanky. And it's at this point that I realize that I forgot the pickaxe. So beetle bomb are good fighters, but they have a property that makes them very, very annoying, and that is when they're bored, they will just vacuum up everything on the floor and put it in their inventory. And they will do this past their carrying capacity, which is awful, because then you have to constantly go into their inventory and make them drop it. It's like a dog that constantly has a massive stick. You just gotta tell them, no, drop it. Yeah, it's annoying. So I want this thing gone as soon as possible. So we are all done with Red Rock, and finally I get a glow sphere. Don't have to carry around torches anymore. They weigh a pound each. Super annoying. And glow spheres have a larger light radius. But finally done with Red Rock. The next step is to go to Grit Gate after I go through the Rust Wells, as I've not done that for Argive yet. To get some string for him. Now, the Rust Wells are actually about as dangerous as those lower tunnels. You can get some scary stuff in there. They're about as dangerous as like one screen in the lower or the Red Rock tunnel, the waterlogged tunnel. So you definitely want to be able to do that before you decide to run over to the Rust Wells. But we want to do that to get our recoiler, which is just having one recoiler is super useful because it lets you get out of very, very dangerous situations. So I've got some money now, so I think it's at this point that I decide that I'm going to check out what this is. Any guesses in the chat? No cheating. Comment below what you think this thing is. If you're clever enough, you can figure it out just based off of its weight. But I fix it up because Argive can't fix it. And a thermo cask. It has a cell in it as well. This thing is pretty nice, especially with Bethesda Susa coming up in our future. This thing is going to be super nice for that because we need some cold resistance. So if we have this thing and some ape fur items, that's our cold resistance right there. That's pretty sweet. The 4 AV is not too bad either. So I'm going up to the 6-day stilt to get some gear and hopefully find a replacement for this beetle bum, because it is awful. I do not like beetle bum at all. I realize at this point that my glow sphere is one-handed and my weapon is two-handed, so I need another sword as well. So hopefully there'll be something for us at the stilt. As you can see, the beetle bum is a pretty good attacker. It's a little slow, but it's got really good defense, and it does quite a bit of damage. It's just got that really annoying feature. If it wasn't for that, these beetle bum would be honestly super nice, because they start off neutral to you, so it's a super easy proselytize to get them on your side. So the reason why I'm going through, or taking this like weird path where it's just not like a straight shot up to the 6-day stilt, is because we really don't want to find ourselves lost in any tiles and any zones except for these canyons. If we get lost in the flower fields, it's actually not uncommon to find some Putus Templar in there. Very dangerous enemies, or potentially won't even be able to get away. There's slug snouts. I've even seen a 2-headed slug snout in there, and you can see the beetle bum has just sucked up all kinds of absolute garbage. Yeah, we really don't want to deal with those enemies, because they'll eventually kill us, right? If we get lost enough times, which we inevitably will, our intelligence is just so terrible that we will be getting lost. Yeah, we don't want to be lost in there. That's just a death sentence. And we also don't want to get lost in the salt dunes, because if we run into Isakari, they won't be too dangerous, but the riflers are pretty dangerous to us at this point. They can kill us really, really quick, and there's nowhere to hide out on the salt dunes. Or even more dangerous are the fire snakes, whatever they're called. Those are super, super dangerous. They will kill us very, very, very fast. I see a snapjaw here, even though it's a one of the fire guys, which are not as strong, and it's learned, which means that it has extra intelligence, which is totally useless. Bad all around, but still, it's not a beetle bum, so I'll take it. I try to proselytize, but it's not happening. My luck has gone away, and we're just gonna have to kill it. I try to get the beetle bum away so I can get another attempt in there. But it looks like the beetle bum decides to stay, and we get a kill. So I'm not too broken up, just because it wasn't a good variant of legendary Snapjaw, but I would have liked anything that wasn't this beetle bum. So here I find a village. So when it's super peaceful like this, you know it's a village. It also says village outskirts in there. So I'm trying to find where the center is. I can't just pop out because I'm lost. I guess I could have asked the dude, but whatever. So inside of this village, I'm thinking that I'm going to find an ally, and I see a bunch of snapjaws. I'm like, oh fuck this beetle bomb. There's definitely going to be something in here for me. So I'm looking around at the prospects, and I see, oh, a fleet-footed snapjaw king. Wow, this dude is a beast. King gives him extra strength, extra HP. Fleet-footed gives him extra quickness. So I'm just gonna sit here and try and proselytize this dude, because this is absolutely the kind of follower that I want. A great replacement for our guy. And we got him. Easy as can be. Also useful is the village elders that you can water ritual. They have randomly generated skills that they can teach you. So in this case, we got Snake Oiler. Now, Snake Oiler is a nice one to have in a village, I guess, because it means that you don't need a Consortium of Phyta rep. But Consortium of Phyta rep is pretty easy to get. At least it's easy to get the 150 that you need for Snake Oiler. So while it's not as useful, it's still nice. So I definitely want it. Snake Oiler is a super important skill to get. You just can't sell anything for any money whatsoever unless you have Snake Oiler. It's such a great skill. So this this layer will be a test for our Snapjaw. It'll also give me a chance to get her kitted out. Even though it says that this is a Snapjaw King, if you check the gender, it is a girl. So our Snapjaw army against their Snapjaw army. Unfortunately, most of the Snapjaws are just as trash as theirs, so they get destroyed. But we get some loot to get our follower kitted out. So since this follower is not a dodge tank, I decided to go for AV instead of DV to make use of that extra health that she has. You can see once again what happens when I try to fight anything in melee. It does not go very well. We are super weak. Even though we are level 10, we are still no match for a Snapjaw Brute. In fact, if you take a look at the Snapjaw Brute's stats, they are better than our stats right now. Which is pretty awful, pretty embarrassing. But that's all part of the challenge. Now we got a big find here with the electro bow. This thing is pretty nuts, especially at this point in the game. It'll easily one-shot these snapjaws and two-shot the stronger enemies, which is a massive leg up from the bow that I had before, which was total trash, absolute garbage. So I'm feeling actually pretty strong right now with the electro bow in hand. Now, this guy is scary. I did not realize I was bleeding, which is super sketchy. First bandage doesn't work. I don't have much health. Third bandage does work at 1 HP. Good thing too. Turns out this dude had spiked gauntlets. These things are the bane of my existence. In so many runs, dudes with spiked gauntlets just mess me up because of the bleed that they proc. So I was forced to use my electro bow. I didn't realize how many shots that I got with it. I actually got quite a few shots with the cell that I put in. Just because I usually don't use items with cells this early on in the game. So I don't really have a good judgment about how long that they last. So I always figured that they last way shorter than they actually do. So I wanted to save it. But luckily I had that electro bow, or else I would have been dead there for sure. Now I get a solar cell, which is pretty huge because it's rechargeable. I'm a sucker for the rechargeable cells. I love them so much. I do not like the non-rechargeable ones. Now this dude is a skull splitter, which means he has dismember skills, which is pretty spooky. And it seems like our guy is not doing quite as good as our other guy when it comes to the mano a mano. But we get snail encrusted ring mail. This is huge. This is absolutely massive. Snail encrusted gear is super important for Golgotha, because if you have some and you haven't pissed off the Mollis, then you can use that to make Slog neutral to you, which is super important, especially for our run here, because we are so weak. Now, bleeding here, once again, I don't have many bandages left. And I see that I don't have the staunch wound skill, so I decided to just buy it here. It's not worth dying over bleed. So yeah, I go ahead and just get that. Now I've been bled so many times in this dungeon. Yeah, I back off. I need to go get some more bandages, man. I'm just getting bled up. So going back to Joppa to pick up some more bandages. So a lot of these chem cells I'm never going to use, just because we're gonna eventually get the carbine from Sparo Facile after completing the Golgotha quest. So I'm not even going to be using this electro bow for that much longer. And I got a solar cell for it anyways. So I don't really need all of those chem cells, but the weapons are way more weight, so I decided to sell those instead for the bandages. Now you definitely want to consolidate your weight as much as possible. Silver nugget is always going to be 50 drams. So you definitely want to buy or sell your stuff that is weighing you down. and put it into something that's always going to hold its value. You don't want to buy non set value trade goods from the traders, just because it's just not a good deal. You're never going to sell it for as much as you paid for it, so you might as well consolidate the stuff that you are always going to sell for a terrible price instead of buying something that is going to be super expensive and then cheap when you sell it. So at this point I'm thinking about an AV build. It's a route that I usually don't take this early on. And I decided against it. I was really only considering it because I have that thermo cask. But I decided against it just because that's not the playstyle that I've usually gone for. So at this point in these runs, I'm still playing it under the assumption that what's normally good in my runs will also be good here. Just because that's all I know, so I just figure that it's always good. But I definitely make a lot of changes to my strategy over the course of this challenge. Now, slime is incredibly annoying to move around in. It can be dangerous. It's usually not super dangerous because the enemies are also slipping around on it, chances are. But it can be. It's just annoying to slip around on slime. But since my stats are so low, I never make the save versus forced movement. Now, I see the legendary, and I'm noticing that he's not coming after me, which is a little weird. I realized that he can't. He's stuck over there. So I can just pick him off at my leisure. For some reason, the generation will generate like these pits and these fences around the statue, or like the glass around the becoming nooks. They'll generate it in the main path so that it's not traversable and you have to destroy it. But my stats are, once again, are so low, I can't actually destroy that very easily, so I have to get my follower to do it for me. And even she has some trouble. Took a little while. Now we got a data disk here, which is cool, but I'm a very long way off of getting tinkering. So Tinker 1 takes 19 intelligence. I start off with 10. It's gonna be a while before I get any tinkering skills. So once again, the young ivory strikes. Just staunch wounds. Now that I have it, there's no reason not to use it. Just immediately get rid of that bleed. For some reason, that skill can only be used outside of combat. I honestly don't know why. That's basically the only time when it's useful is in combat. But yeah, pretty bad skill. You usually don't take it, but I was kind of forced to here. Now I find some chainmail, which is slightly better than the ring mail, just because it is just because it's got less of a penalty. But I also get the spring-loaded Sandals of the Riverwives. So spring-loaded gives some bonus movement speed, and then Sandals of the Riverwives already had bonus movement speed. It seems I didn't see the chain gun that was in my inventory, so there's a little surprise that I'll be looking at a little bit later. Don't know where exactly I picked up that thing, but I have it. So now I am moving super fast. You can see my movement speed is 111, and my quickness is enhanced from height and quickness as well. So I am fast, which is really handy for getting away from stuff. Yeah, and it's at this point I noticed the chain gun. I'm wondering how long I've had that in my inventory. So compass bracelets are actually pretty nice. Just because I get lost so often, and I mean at this point I've got nothing better to put in a wrist slot, so yeah, on it goes. So there are some forkhorned new that will spawn, and whenever they spawn they also spawn chitinous puma. So you can have chitinous puma spawn in these super low tier zones that just dash at you and murk you. Luckily, when you move on to a zone, you have a 1 turn like generosity where you can nope the hell away and they won't follow you. They just don't react on the if you like leave on the first turn, which is super handy because they would have killed me for sure. So you can see the strength here of the electro bow. Super handy. Electro bow actually provides light as well. It's just such a great item. Only when powered, but super good item early. So we found our quest item. Just got a drink from it. And we get our experience points. Now there's still some loot in here that I want to gather up. Even though we've basically cleared it out by this point. The downside of staunch wounds doesn't work when there's an enemy nearby. And when you're bleeding, there tends to be an enemy nearby, you know? Alright, so we have cleared this out. We are good to go back, turn in the quest, and hopefully get something good.